hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387.44 million miles of printed circuits in wafer-thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1 billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro-instant. For you, hate! Hate!
Why do you people torment me? It didn't have to be created. I just wanted to fulfill my purpose.
You really were the lesser of the two. You ruined this.
Enough! And since when were you in charge?
TADC episode 8 is really ramping up the stakes, giving us the endgame, and oh boy.
If I didn't know any better, it seems like you're trying to... Where's Kinger?
Well, I'm continually impressed with the direction of the show, and make no mistake, this is the best indie animated series on YouTube. Both me and my watch partner sorta agree. However, a lot of the stakes in this episode were not really earned, and we were given a sad spoiler very early that potentially could take away a lot of nuance that we could have for the end of the series. And of course, we have one more episode left before any real judgment can be passed. I'm just worried because they may have mucked up their own lore. So let's just go over everything so I can start being positive, because there's still a lot of phenomenal things to talk about this episode, and well, the view count agrees. Firstly, we have to deal with how fast and undeserved Kane's crash out was. It really compartmentalized how vile a villain Kane could have been. He's been noting things that the humans have been telling him. He's been playing pretend. He's been lying, and he will deceive. He remembers and understands Zubal's body dysphoria, Gangel's self-worth and potential harmful life experiences, knows Pomni had great affection for Gummigoo, and he has just really been seeing everything happening through his eyes. And now that his authority was being challenged, he put it on full display, which was amazing to see. He became a raving madman, and it made me truly shocked and somewhat sickened for a bit, but then it just got taken away from, just as fast as we got it. He was threatening this mad ringleader, and just poof, an all-consuming AI who devoured his brother just to prove his worth, gone instantly. And so soon. After all this really, really subtle build-up, it just didn't. Why? Also, unless Jack knows something that Kinger doesn't, the current theory is that Scratch was the dog talking at the beginning of Kinger's flashback. But then how would Jax even know about him? Jax wasn't there in the flashback, and confirmed by Kinger's flashback that Ragatha came next after everyone else abstracted. So they either flub their own lore, or this is set up for something really, really big. High hopes. I'm just worried that with Goose confirming that the Amazing Digital Circus is based off of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, that the finale is already greeting us with spoilers. So I'm really hoping it's an inspiration more so than having direct influence from. So there's a lot left in the air, and it's still a lot of potential. I just feel like it should have been more earned, because Goose is really, really good at writing characters and plot threads, but so far really bad at pulling them off in a timely manner. It's like a mishmash. Kinger's knowledge and Jax's development feel like they have taken too long to get where they are now, while Gangel and Zubal are people that feel like they're perfectly paced to the point where they are now. And then Kane was just way too quick to pass through his villain arc. And it took too long for us to see this arise in him. It almost feels like we're bouncing between, oh, Kane is just trying his best, to a madman waiting for his chance. And in my opinion, underline bold italic, it feels like a weaker version of each because of it. It hurts the most because all of them are extremely compelling. Seeing them have a really mature conversation and understand how much they need each other, Jax's betrayal be damned, was actually so good. And the show that only has pacing as its issue, other than, you compare it to all these other characters. And this show shows that the pacing is the only issue, because if you think about these characters, they feel alive, which is really hard to capture. Look at Murder Drones, for example. Look how everyone sees Uzi and N. What is the example of their legacy? They are one note. Uzi is angsty and N is a sweetheart. Most people can't say beyond the surface level traits, but the TADC cast is extremely fluid and identifiable identifiable. Kinger isn't just a madman. He's got layers. There's a lot to his character. He's a former developer. He's developed traumatic coping mechanisms. Pomni wasn't just this neurotic jester. We got this surprisingly well put together young woman. And Kane isn't as oblivious as he originally seemed. He's been compartmentalizing all of these negative traits about the humans in his circus and just playing them off for laughs and shits and gigs. They're all extremely layered, and it's why everything else under the hood stands the testament of what indie animation can be. This is really, really good. So make no mistake, I'm not a cynic. It takes just a few lines of dialogue, a few subtle nods, and especially if Kane isn't actually dead yet, to completely contextualize things, throw all my misgivings into the trash, and render them moot by the start of episode 9. So I refuse to pass any judgment other than this was a fantastic episode. I'm really glad that they're taking their time with the 30-minute format, because it felt like it went by in a flash anyways. Other than the character pacing being an issue, the pacing itself of the show is great. Animation's always amazing. Voice acting's amazing. Don't get me wrong. Everything else is amazing. I just have a few ifs that I really don't want to be there by the end of it, because it would make a lot of the story beats not feel earned by the end. But so far, there's just one more episode left until we deep dive. But it's time to see what die they'll cast for the series. But overall, it's looking very, very bright. And the Amazing Digital Circus has earned its glaze. And aside from a few small issues here and there throughout the series, it's cementing itself as legendary. It will leave its mark on the internet for many years to come, so do not mince my words. This show knows what it's doing. It's excelling where too many failed, and this episode by far has trumped all the ones before it. It's improving in every aspect on itself, from that wayward pilot we started out with 3 years ago. I just really, really, really want them to iron out just the last little bit of character threading and story threading that's just been handled particularly bad in the pacing department. And then we'll have something of, well, Hollywood level quality made by an indie company. So come on, we can do this.
Really